back, everyone. As we speak right now, we're hearing two different narratives in the Chinese Communist Party. On one side, we're seeing a weakening of the very system they represent. We're seeing a weakening of their economy, a weakening politically, and a weakening socially. At the same time, though, we see a Chinese Communist Party becoming more aggressive on the world stage. We see it threatening war. We see it threatening invasion of Taiwan. So a big question is, well, what's happening? Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they a threat or are they not? Here to talk with us about this is Casey Fleming. He's CEO of BlackOps Partners. He's also a senior advisor on risk strategy and counterintelligence. Hey, Casey, great having you back on Crossroads.
Great to be here.
Well, we're seeing some interesting shifts with China now. I mean, a lot of stuff that you and I have been talking about for years now seems to be, well, basically on the surface. But we're seeing two sides of the Chinese Communist Party threat. On one side, we're hearing that they're getting weaker. There's party infighting, which we've been knowing it's been going on for a bit now. Socially, they're destabilized. There's lockdowns. Chinese people are unhappy. Economy's destabilized. At the same time, though, they're getting more aggressive militarily. And so people are wondering, well, are they getting stronger? Or are they getting to be more of a risk? Or are these somehow related? What's your take on this?
I like to call it the cornered rat syndrome. What you're seeing is the Chinese Communist Party has made great strides and great achievements in Chinese communism across the world. With the pandemic, it's kind of come to a head. And what you're seeing is there's a lot of weakness inside of China, making the Chinese Communist Party weakened, and it's a cornered rat. So when you have a weakened state, they're in fear of losing power. And that's why I think that they're the most dangerous that they've ever been in the past, because they are cornered. Again, because of what's going on in China, the weakening. If you want me to give you examples, the financial issues with Evergrande real estate, the financial markets, them going in and taking back companies and cutting companies back because the companies were getting too much power in competition with the Chinese Communist Party. So you're seeing all this weakened inside of China. You're seeing hoarding of 50% of the world's grain because they're worried of starvation and not being able to produce for their people, therefore causing unrest and not stability. Chinese communism is all about stability, 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 and everything to keep that stability, which is surveillance and all those type of things. So that's what you're seeing, what's going on in China today, all the way through their financial markets that are now in turmoil. And you're also seeing even rolling blackouts. So that, if you can imagine rolling blackouts and what that does to the people. So you're seeing them also move forward with global partnerships with other nefarious nation states, China alongside Russia, Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, and they're doing their best to go around the world and create this group of allies now that they're in this weakened state.
And it's stability, specifically stability of the party, because they don't seem to have an issue, again, kicking out business leaders, locking people in their homes. I mean, we see in Xi'an right now that there's, 13 million people in lockdown. They're saying they don't have enough food. I mean, it's a bizarre scene to watch because, and this is kind of where I'm at with it. On one side, we're watching the party look like it's in crisis. We're watching the party look like it's trying to fix its global image. We see that side of things. At the same time, they're doing things that you would think would damage that. You'd think they'd be trying to make things better with the Chinese people, that they want to make things more stable socially, not lock people in their homes. They're going the opposite way, which is more control, more authoritarianism. Global relations, they're getting more aggressive. They're not trying to harmonize the situation. They're getting more aggressive. And business inside China, as you mentioned, like Evergrande and stuff, we saw them put some of the business leaders behind bars. They're investigating them. They're going after them instead of trying to harmonize the situation, which is, I think a lot of people are watching this and they're wondering, well, what the heck is going on? What is the Chinese Communist Party doing? They seem to be making the situation worse. But at the same time, you and I think, can see also that they're strengthening the party's control over these different elements. And where do you think that factor comes in?
from this weakened state. They, like I said, when you're trying to keep a communist regime in power, the biggest thing that you have to worry about is keeping them in power, and that's what the entire system is designed to do, is to keep the CCP in power. They will do everything that they have to do to stay in power, which is why it's very, very risky at this time, because they are this cornered rat type of syndrome. Even if it means death to some of their own people or inconvenience to some of their own people, and on and on. The thing I like to tell people in audiences is, if you want to see, their intent is to colonize the United States as a Chinese state, a Chinese communist state, and the rest of the free world. And that's really what their end goal and end objective is. So if you really want to see how they're going to treat your children and your grandchildren, look how they're treating the Tibetans, the Uyghurs, the Falun Gong, and you name, and even their own people with all the surveillance and so on. So that's where this is going, as the country continues to have severe growing pains. They have to continue to maintain power, and that's why you're seeing this squeezing, even though it looks very bad to, weld or sequester their own people, like 11 million or 13 million people, in which we would never think of in the United States, at least not today. That's really what's going on behind the scenes. So that's where the world needs to pay attention, and they're trying to build these alliances, these nefarious alliances with other nefarious regimes, and to build their influence globally while they still think that they can, and they're still in some type of power. And that's why it's very difficult for us to see, because this cornered rat can be doing, you could easily fall into a military situation. You could fall into another expanded global crisis situation. So it's a tipping point, I believe, when you're seeing this whole thing being congealed together.
Casey, there were some interesting articles that came out recently. I think everybody's watching Taiwan right now, and we're wondering, well, is the Chinese Communist Party going to invade Taiwan? Because they're practicing for it, they're messaging for it, they're doing incursions, air incursions into their air defense zones. We see all this happening. We see the language supporting it, saying they're planning to do it, that they're going to do it. Like inevitably they want to take Taiwan. But at the same time, there were some interesting articles that came out recently, which was saying, there's top Biden officials basically saying that their real belief with, war with Taiwan is that it could become a political subversion war. That the Chinese Communist Party could try to take Taiwan by just subverting their system. And this is a different way of thinking about war and a different way of thinking about conquering. And I think here in the U.S. too, we're all wondering too. Are we going to have war with China? And it makes me wonder too. Well, we know, of course, that the CCP does have political subversion, but what will this war look like? Are we thinking about war wrong when we think about the CCP?
We absolutely are. We always are. War with China today and war with the CCP. By the way, there's only one China, and it's completely controlled by the CCP, so you can't extract one over the other. So war today with China and Russia and Iran and North Korea is all this hybrid war, which is everything short of conventional war. So that means weakening your opponent, weakening your target as much as you possibly can. And so hopefully conventional warfare is never necessary. So it's called the gray zone, again, which is everything short of conventional warfare. But you may eventually see that piece of it as well. China propagandizes the United States as the great evil in the world that must be overtaken. They say that we are the dark. We represent the devil, even though they don't believe there's only one religion in China, and that's the CCP religion. But they have painted us to their population and to their citizens that we are the great evil of the world that must be overtaken for China to have their overall destiny, which is to rule the world like they have in the past 2,000 years. At least that's according to them. So what you're seeing is this thing called the gray zone. And to weaken your enemy, which would be Taiwan, to the point of capitulation, so that they say, okay, we don't want to go to war, we value our people, We don't want death and destruction. We'll just go ahead and join China. So you're seeing that. The other concern in the intelligence community is that this thing is staged along with Russia going after the Ukraine as well. So you're seeing you could very well could see you currently have a gray zone war going on right now with the intimidation, the cyber hacking, all these type of things in Ukraine as well as Taiwan. But you actually could see a bifurcated war situation, which is conventional war, where you could actually see during the same month that Russia invades the Ukraine as well as China, CCP invading Taiwan. So it's a very precarious time in history. What I like to tell audiences is this is all happening on your watch. It's a different kind of a war that you need to be aware of to protect your family and your generational family moving forward. And it's all happening again on your watch. So it's time to get boned up on really what's occurring, what hybrid warfare is, what gray zone is, what conventional warfare is, and what that situation plays out today.